You are tuned in to the Who is God series. If you missed last week's episode, it was God is Omnipotent. Go ahead and check it out here. Otherwise, if you're all caught up, let's move on to the next one. God is Omnipresent. So God is omnipresent or ubiquitous, meaning that He is everywhere at once. You can't escape God's presence. He's everywhere. But now that I think about it, I don't think we really realize that God is omnipresent. Like, for example, I know people who would curse up a storm every other day of the week, but yet they come to church and suddenly it's just like, oh, I have to respect the house of the Lord because I'm in the presence of God. I need to watch my language. And I'm just like, you do realize that God isn't confined to just the four walls of the church. Like, He's omnipresent. He's everywhere. So if you're gonna stop cursing in church because that's the presence of God, then you probably wouldn't want to curse at all, because God's presence is among you at all times. So I don't think we really even realize or acknowledge that we are in God's presence all the time. Can you just imagine how much more differently we would approach life and the things that we would do and not do if we knew that God was right by our side the whole time? And I don't think it's supposed to be a scare tactic like, oh, God's watching, you better watch out what you're going to do because God's watching you. I don't think it's meant to be like a scare tactic like that. I think that God's presence is meant to be more of like a comfort. Like, you have nothing to fear, for God's by your side. You are never alone because God is always with you. I think it's meant to be more of a good thing, more of a comfort. Obviously, yeah, there is that sense of, I don't want to sin because I'm in the presence of God at all times. I think it's also meant to be something that's encouraging and that God is with me at all times. So I don't have to worry, I don't have to fear, I don't have to feel lonely because I know that God is with me. Right? We aren't confined to just the church as a place to be in God's presence or to spend time with God. We aren't confined to just prayer or Bible study as a time to spend with God or a time to be in His presence. We can be in the presence of God anywhere. We can always invite Him in to what we're doing, invite Him in to be a part of our lives, no matter what we're doing, no matter where we are. God can always be a part of our lives. You can always be in His presence. I think that's a great thing, But that does bring up an interesting question. So I want you guys to answer this in the comment section below. Let me know, what are some things that you would actually stop doing, when you acknowledge the fact that you're in the presence of God? And what are some things that you actually start doing when you acknowledge that you're in the presence of God? Let me know. And as always, think on these things.